offer isn't for everyone. Your offers aren't for everyone. And the sooner you understand that, the faster you could scale your brand to luxury brand status. Because one thing is luxury brands understand, they're speaking and marketing to a very specific client, and they know how to show up for them and make them feel seen, heard, and taken care of. They're not trying to serve everyone. Hello, you guys, and welcome to our training, the shortcut to attracting high-paying clients and collectors. So let's dive into our lesson today, because I am so excited to teach this, really talk about the shortcut to attracting high-paying clients and collectors. What's the ultimate X factor? Because for those of you who know me, or maybe you're just getting to know me or just meeting me, if you know anything about me, like, I don't have time for the status quo. I don't really believe in the status quo, especially when the status quo keeps people stuck. And there's a huge status quo out there where artists believe that they have to wait years or decades to actually deem their work worth $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, maybe $50,000 or $100,000. And what I've learned in my experience, that is actually not the case. That's just some art world BS that people bought into, and it's kind of just been a belief that's been passed around in society, just as we all know, like the starving or struggling artist belief, which I don't even like to say aloud because I think it is so detrimental, and it's something that people take on as a belief and an identity, when that really does not have to be the case. It really doesn't. Like, you really could decide today that, or maybe today or tomorrow or in a week or a month or a year, that you're going to start charging $10,000 each for your paintings. Like, you could do that. You could do that in that short period of time. You don't need to wait for the art world to tell you that your work is good enough or worthy enough. You do not have to wait for the right clients and collectors. Or, like, I remember when I was in art school, in the art world, they would talk about, oh, well, if you got passed down or got your work passed down or bought or collected by certain collectors, then all of a sudden your work is worthy more. And maybe in some weird world that's the case, but that does not have to be the case for you. So really, today what we're going to dive into is really how you can start charging $10,000 plus for your paintings within the next 30 days or the next year, whatever that time period feels good for you. We'll talk more about that. How you can attract a premium clientele who don't blink twice when your price point's between $1,000 to $50,000 plus, and how you can diversify your offers that your collectors would love, which actually allows you to create repeat sales with existing collectors, ultimately multiply your monthly revenue. So what is that X factor thing that I was talking about? Like, how can I make a promise like that? Or how can you make such a huge leap? Well, the X factor is the fact that you as an artist are a luxury brand. You as an artist are a luxury brand. And this is one thing they never teach you in art school. So why do I say that so bluntly? Is because here you are as an artist, you sell a high ticket offer to an audience who's only willing to invest and pay for that high ticket offer. Just like Louis Vuitton, Dolce & Gabbana, Mercedes, Porsche, even Picasso, and all the other luxury brands that we know of out there. So why don't most artists have multi-million-dollar empires like all these organizations or people did? Well, the truth is most artists never set up to strategically establish themselves as a luxury brand, marketing and branding themselves specifically in that market and ultimately stepping into that identity. Instead, most artists put on the struggling artist identity that society gives them and decide that if they are lucky, they just get by, or if they have a small hobby business without really plan or strategy to grow it, aside from hoping that the Instagram gods will make their reel go viral and call it a day. And I think we know that doesn't work. That's why most of them wonder why they're struggling to sell their work, why people are telling their prices are too expensive when they currently are barely charging enough for the time investment they're putting in that work. And this all goes back to is because they haven't actually established themselves to market and attract a clientele who be willing to pay those prices. And this is where maybe you're at. Each artist is in a different place. Each artist is in a different journey. But this is where you really want to get clear, because when you aren't clear, this is why most artists ultimately create a business that's designed to keep them stuck. And it sounds so crazy, but it's what happens. So many people design businesses that literally keep them stuck, that literally keep them at an upper limit. But the good news is that you're either live with me, watching here live, or you're watching the replay. So if you're taking the time to watch this, you're making the decision that you're not going to be stuck, especially if you stay till the end. So today we're really going to dive into how you can get yourself out of being a hobby, how you can really get yourself out of being stuck in this hobby art business or have this hobby art business identity and become this high ticker luxury brand that collectors are consistently seeking out. And we'll be breaking it down to five simple key steps. I think like 5 to 6 simple key steps. So if that seems exciting to you, I'd say take a pen and paper out, be ready to take notes, because I'll tell you, everything we're talking about is really simple. None of this stuff is extremely complex, as I know some of the people who are here with me on the Zoom call with me, some of them are students. The ones who are like winning, everything they're doing is so simple, but they're mastering. They're at a mastery level with it, which is why they're winning. So that's why I want you to take everything I say very seriously, write it down, and really see where are your gaps. What are you missing that's preventing you from showing up as a luxury brand? That's preventing you from stepping into this luxury brand? That's preventing you from presenting yourself and for others from seeing you as a luxury brand. So the first step, it's really simple. And it's so crazy how simple it is, but it really makes all the difference. First thing is setting the intention. So intention is a huge piece here. And it sounds so simple, but honestly, it's one of the main reasons that most artists never establish themselves as luxury brands set up to make millions of dollars, because they never set the intention to. They never said, this is a goal that I'm moving towards. They never decide, this is where I'm going. I may not know the entire path to get there. Of course, each person's going to have a different aligned path for them. That's part of what we work on when we work with artists. But it's at least knowing, where am I going? And the reason I know most artists never set the intention, because when I speak to artists and ask them what their goal is to make for the next 6 months, most of them either don't know the answer or they just say to make a living, whatever that means. Because for each person, making a living is a different number for everyone. Does that mean $30,000 in the bank? Does that mean $50,000? Does that mean $100,000? That means $500,000, $1 million? What does that mean to you? And not knowing that, like, there's no intention. There's no place of like, this is where I'm going. This is how, and I'm just going to keep moving my body there. I'm going to take whatever stuff that's involved that's going to get me there. It's so simple, but it's really the key. I was actually watching a really short clip with Oprah. I think it was on Trevor Noah or something. I don't know when this was formed. It was on social media. Oops. I think it was yesterday or the other day, and she was saying, it's like the one thing that holds people back is most people never set the intention of where they're going to go. They never decide where they're going to go and move their body to get there. And it's so simple, but most people don't do that. So like I said, intention is key here, because you first need to set the intention of where you're going, what you're building, what you're creating. And then the second part, set the intention of who you need to become to create that. Because it's great to know where you're going, but if you're not rising up to become that person, that doesn't mean anything. It's like, it's just a far off dream. So who do you need to become to do that, to create that? Like, this is a big piece. It's like, for those of you who, if you watched our interview with Jade about, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, you will see there's a huge piece with the inner work and the outer work, and both go hand in hand. You need both to get where you want to go. You need to rise up and become the person and have the identity, especially if you guys want to make, those of you who want to make millions of dollars with your art, of $1 million luxury brand business owner. It's huge. And actually know that you're going to go there. Get an idea, what does that look like? We'll go deeper into that in a second. So this is so simple, yet so few people truly understand and master this. And that's why I'm making it such an important point, because it's the first step of everything, of everything you want in life. First, set the intention and understand what your intention is. Is your intention to make this amount of money, or is your intention to not go broke? Because those are two, even though many people may have the intention to make a lot of money, if this is where their dominant energy is, what do you think is going to be the result? So get very clear. What is the intention you're making? And are you in alignment with that intention? That's the first thing. The second thing that's really important. So one thing to understand about branding, I used to talk about this all the time, is branding is the marriage between what is that you desire to create in the world, the impact you want to make in the world, and also meeting your ideal client where they are with their wants, dreams, goals, and desires. Because you as a brand are a guide on your ideal client's hero's journey. So let's talk about you. What is it that you want to create in the world? What's the impact you want to make? What's the legacy you want to create with your work? What's the mission behind your work? Do you know these things? Like, get really clear on these things, because these are the things that's going to ultimately distinguish you in the marketplace. You need to know, what is it that I'm actually creating? What is it that I'm actually building? Because when you have that clarity, guess what? Then you could go out and build it. When you don't have that clarity, you end up just doing the hobby art business things. You just kind of do what everyone else is doing because you don't have clarity what you're creating. So this is why get clarity. What is it that you're creating? What's the mission? What's the impact you want to make in the world? Get really clear on that. Once you know that, awesome. Once you know that, now let's get more granular. So what's the brand frequency then? So this is a topic I've spoken about in a few of our trainings, and I love the concept. I learned about it from a brilliant entrepreneur named Jeffrey Pearlman. He's the founder of Zumba, and he works with he likes to go really deep with brands who like just have are there to make a huge impact in the world, a big difference in the world. And he talks about the brand frequency ultimately being like that peak experience, that peak magical moment that people have when working with you, or people have when it's working or engaging with your brand or business. Like, what is that thing? And how can you make that infuse in every single detail that you do? So people don't need to work with you firsthand to get a feeling of that, to get the essence of that. People just could go to your website and get the essence of that. People go to your social media to get the essence of that. And if that magical essence touches them, the chances of them leaning deeper into your world, the chances of being way more fascinated with you and your brand are going to be so much higher. It is, because if you can make that peak experience so evident in everything that you do in the free stuff and the paid stuff. Of course, with the paid stuff, people get to experience way deeper. They really get to experience it. But people could get the essence of it even just before they give you any money. Well, then that creates a really magical attraction point where people literally will be attracted to your brand because it's giving them something that they're seeking. And then if you get to deliver that through everything that you do, well, that creates loyal, repeat clients and customers. So that's the first thing. Really setting yourself up and really establishing yourself and really setting yourself apart from everyone else out there, because most people never set the intention or ever even get clarity on what that looks like, what that feels like, what that smells like, what that tastes like. What does that feel like? And in terms of frequency, we're going to talk about more of this in the next moment. But like, think about like when you're in a mall and you go into each store has a different frequency. Each store has a different feeling. Like the Apple store has a very different frequency that like Sharper Image. I don't know if that's brand is still in business, but I remember what used to go in the Sharper Image store as a kid. And that's a very different frequency from a brand like Hollister, Abercrombie and Fitch, which is a very different frequency from like Sears or Macy's. Those are very different feelings. Or if you go to Modell's, there was another store we used to go to. I don't even know if they're in business anymore, but all those places have such different frequencies. They have such different feelings, which is why they each attract different customers. Maybe there's some overlapping, but many of them are different. So this is really interesting. What's the frequency of your brand, and how can you make sure you permeate it through everything you do? This is a step of leveling up into luxury space. Luxury brands like Porsche, like I'm just saying, like Louis Vuitton, like I'm just trying to think of like really incredible brands. Even Apple's a somewhat of a luxury brand. Like one of the big things that they're really good at when people come into their store, they know how to make them feel like $1 million. They know how to make them feel like it's just not even just how things are designed and decorated and all that, but also in the experience that people feel when working with the people that work for them. So this is where you really want to get it clear. How can you do that for yourself and your business? What is your clear, distinct frequency that would attract your specific clients and collectors? So that's the first thing. The second thing is the world of your brand. What is the world of your brand? So when stepping into creating an iconic luxury brand, this is so important to establish, because you want to create a world that your true ideal clients and collectors are truly excited to be a part of. This is a really big thing. And the best analogy I like to use, like I was just talking about before, each store you go into has a different world, is a different experience and feeling. So what you want to identify is, what is your world? What does your world feel like, smell like, taste like? What are the different colors, imagery, objects, scents, layout? Like we all know of Disney World. Like when you go to Disney World, you're immersed in an entirely new world. It's like you want to buy all the merchandise. You want to have the whole Disney World experience. Because why do you want that? Because they have a frequency of magic, and you want that magical experience with everything. You want to take that magical experience home with you. You want to indulge in that magical experience because it's fun, because it lights you up. If Disney's your thing, that's why people are attracted to Disney World. What is your world? What is your world that people are going to want to be a part of, that people are going to be excited by, that's going to feel magical, or it's going to fulfill the frequency that you want to deliver to your people, that you want to create for your people? So you want to get clear on those things, the different colors, imagery, objects, sense, layout, what type of people hang out in this world, what type of people are attracted to this world, what does this world look like and feel like? And you may be thinking, well, I don't have a store. What's the purpose of this? Well, when you truly understand this world, then you could really be very clear on user experience on your website, on your social media, on anywhere you're visible, in your emails, and any way you're communicating with your audience online or offline. It's really important to be aware of this because this is what separates, like I said, hobby artists from luxury brand. That's that X factor thing. The third thing, which is something I was debating whether to include or not, but I decided that, you know what, I think it is really important as an artist is really understanding the personality of your brand. What is your brand personality? What is your brand voice? Especially because as an artist, most of you as artists are personal brands. And as personal brands, we want to connect with who your personality is what's going to attract us to you. It's what's going to attract people or repel people. So I think it's something really important to establish. So I want to give you a few examples of different brand personalities to help you understand what I mean, so you can get a good idea. So there's one person. She's actually someone, she's what we would call, I would say, business famous, but maybe not known beyond a business entrepreneurial world. And her name is Laura Belgray, and she's a famous copywriter. She has her brand is called Talking Shrimp. And I actually just met her. I was at an event in San Antonio over the weekend, and I happened to meet her over the weekend. And it was really funny because she's just like a casual New Yorker. And I remember meeting her the night before she spoke on stage. And she's just like this very like just cool introvert. Like I know she wasn't feeling physically great that night because of something that she ate on the plane, but she just seemed very calm and reserved. And then when she was on stage, she was like probably my favorite type of New Yorker. Someone who's like so real, so hilarious, just so real, and not afraid to say what most people are afraid to say, and just share like her reality. Like she's someone who talks about being unapologetically lazy. And she's so funny about how she talks about it. Like even, and she's and her brand personality is so beautifully infused without her brand. Like she'll even talk about, so of course, after meeting her, I was really curious to dive into her stuff. So I was reading one of her blog posts like that, I think the evening after she spoke, and it was so funny. She talks about like all the different ways you can grow your email list. Like that was just one of the examples of the blog post I was reading. And she shares one example of like a strategy people could use. She was like, yeah, this is an option. I haven't done it yet because I'm too busy watching I have too many like Real Housewife episodes to watch. So it's like, this is who she is. She's just so real. She's like, I'm unapologetically lazy. She's like done her fair share of really making herself known in the world of first doing copywriting for big people like Kevin Hart and big commercials and just big media, to work with Marie Forleo. Now she has her own brand, and this is what she does now. She really helps people like be unapologetically themselves and make money doing that, essentially as copywriters or whatever they specialize in. So that's just an example of a brand personality. People who naturally like just love to be in that energy, love people who are just unapologetically themselves, who are unapologetically hilarious, not afraid to say what most people are afraid to say, like they're going to be attracted to her. Another great example of another brand personality is a very successful artist, Talia Stanton, on Instagram. She's someone who's very bubbly, very cheery, and her personality is magnetic for a lot of people. Like has hundreds of orders every single week because people love her personality. People love being in her energy. They love watching her videos. They want a piece of her in their home because it feels good. It feels good. They want more of that. So that's an example of another brand personality. Another brand personality is like someone like Richard Branson. Of course, his businesses are more corporate, but he's all about fun, all about having a good time, all about dancing and having fun and not taking life too seriously. And if you've ever flown Virgin Airlines, at least the last time I flown there, which was several years ago, it's like their like safety procedures are a music video. So it just shows you that's how they infuse the brand personality. So that's a few examples. So you want to get clear. And I think this is really important as an artist, especially when attracting your true soulmate clients. What's your brand personality? What's your way? Like, who are you naturally when you're the realest version of yourself? And how can you communicate that? Because I feel like this goes hand in hand with your brand universe, with your brand frequency, with the mission and vision of your brand. And there's other details in the brand. We don't have time to talk about all of them today. But what is your personality? How can you make sure it's infused? Because your true people are going to be attracted to you because of that. And it's interesting. I think with a lot of luxury brands, it's not expressed as much because a lot of them are in a corporate phase. Like Apple, I don't think they express it as much now. I think when they were starting out and Steve Jobs was the one really running the show, their brand personnel was all about being the rebel, because Steve Jobs was a rebel. They were all about their like, when everyone's going this way, we're going to go this one way. They even have the commercial of the black and white people and this one color person running for their life, because this whole idea of going the other way. So right now I feel like they become so commercialized and they become so big that like it's kind of like they don't really need that messaging anymore, because they've just become such a huge brand all over the world, like $1 trillion company we're talking about. But that was how they ultimately started out before they became that corporate, in a sense. That was their whole message, being the rebel. And so when they tracked other rebels that didn't accept the status quo. I mean, that's probably why I'm attracted to them, because I consider myself quite a rebel. So just giving you a good idea, that should give you a good idea of like, okay, how could I establish that? What does that look like for me? So the next thing, now we're going to dive into the next step, which is getting clear on who your collectors are. So far we've spoken about, okay, who are you in this? What is it that you're creating? We spoke about, okay, the intention, what's the mission and vision? What's the brand frequency, the brand world, the world of the brand personality, the first few key pieces of the brand. Now, who are the people you're serving? So now that you're clear on what you want to build and create this world with your business or brand, now it's time to get clear on who exactly you're meant to serve. So who are your specific soulmate clients? Who can you serve better than anyone else in the world? Because one thing you need to understand, your art isn't for everyone. Your offers aren't for everyone. And the sooner you understand that, the faster you could scale your brand to luxury brand status. Because one thing is luxury brands understand, they're speaking and marketing to a very specific client. And they know how to show up for them and make them feel seen, heard, and taken care of. They're not trying to serve everyone. It's honestly not even worth their time, because only a select group of people are qualified to become their clients. So they're only focused on serving the people they could actually serve. And that's not a bad thing. They're still making hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not like they're holding back their income because they're not serving every single person in the world, because they're not selling to every single person in the world. They're still doing very well. And if you get honest with yourself, you'll realize there are probably only a select group of people who are qualified to buy your work, who are qualified to buy your offerings. But you need to be extremely clear on who that select group of people is and why they resonate or would resonate with your work or with your brand over someone else's. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. You're just trying to sell to everyone. You're just like, buy this. And to a group of people who are like, no, I'm not interested. So get really clear on who are the people that you actually could help and serve with your art. Who are those people that would enjoy it, who appreciate, whose lives would be changed more than anyone else's would? Get really clear who those people are, because once you're clear, then you could show up for them better than anyone else. Then you don't have to be like what I like to call like vanilla, like just trying to be like try to please everyone, which we know never really works and never allows you to really stand out as being someone edgy or being someone that really stands out in the crowd. So, because without knowing who your people are, that you don't know how to market to them, how to speak to them, or how to get in front of them. It's not enough just to say people who are my clients and just say, oh, people with blank walls, I want to fill their home or want to be inspired in their home. I think we could agree almost everyone wants that, but that's not enough reason for people to choose your work over someone else's, especially when you want to sell high ticket. There needs to be a greater reason, a greater burning desire, whether it means status, experience some sort of purpose, fulfilling an emotional, spiritual need of some sort. What is that thing that you fulfill for your specific people that magnetize them to you over someone else's? And this is why it's really important to show up for your ideal client collector consistently, better than anyone else's in your niche or in your market. And when you know this is when it actually becomes very much easier to create additional offers in your business that allows your business to make money for you, which truly solidifies your brand. Because when you understand who your people are, guess what? You know how to serve them in greater ways, which means you know what other offerings you could introduce in your business, so you're not constantly in a position to trade your time for money. So, but you need to know who your people are first. You need to be able to know who they are, talk to them, be able to understand what is they're looking for, what is they're seeking, to know what is to offer them, what resonates with them more than anything else. I mean, this gives you so much data on what to offer, how to market yourself and your messaging, how to speak to them in a way that where they are naturally magnetized to you, because when they see you, they're like, what you're doing, what you're talking about, like it just hits home in a way that no one else would know it, no way where no one else, how they're talking about it, hits them in that specific way. So you really want to get clear on that. So the fourth thing, once you're clear on that, the fourth thing is once you have these few key things established, you need to establish your high ticket brand procedures. So this is something I've spoken about briefly before. So what are your high ticket brand procedures? Your high ticket brand procedures are the procedures of how you help someone from point A to point Z. What are the processes you put in place so when people interact with your brand, when people buy from your brand, after people buy from your brand, they feel like $1 million. they feel called to come back to you again and again and again. How are you going to have those in place? Because one thing I could say, all these luxury brands, they have them so detailed, so set in place in SOPs, which are standard operating procedures, that all their people, that all their employees, that everyone who works for them knows how to do to a defined detail, to make sure that everything's always taken care of. What are going to be your high ticket brand procedures that are going to attract people from why they're buying from you in the first place? What does that look like for you? Like, what's the step from A to Z of why people will come buy from you again and again and again? And what's the step A to Z to make sure that when people interact with you, when people buy from you, it's going to be the most premium, most exquisite, most high luxurious experience? Because why are people buying from you in the first place? It's because of the experience. It's because they want the experience. They want the experience of what it means to buy a $10,000 painting. It's a very different experience than going to Target and buy a $20 thing they could put on their wall. It's a very different experience. How are you going to deliver on that experience? How are you going to deliver on that experience? How are you going to make them feel like $1 million when they buy from you? Because that's the thing, when you sell high ticket, you need to be able to deliver on that. Otherwise, people, like, that's why people are going to you in the first place. Like, why do people spend thousands of dollars on a Louis Vuitton purse? Because of the experience of buying it, of how it makes them feel, of opening the package, of first of going to the store. I've never actually bought a Louis Vuitton purse, so I don't know the full experience, but I've heard about it, of going to the store and the whole experience, how they bring you throughout the store, and then with how they package it, and then opening up that packaging and having that bag that seems like this magical thing, at least to the people who buy it. People want that experience. It makes them feel important. It makes them feel like they have status. It makes them feel like, for some people who strove or put that on their vision board, it makes them feel like they made it. How are you going to provide that experience for your people? This is a really big thing, and this is something that hobby artists have no understanding of, or if they do not perform well in their application of their understanding. These hobby artists, they're just trying to sell whatever they could sell. And the experience, if the experience there is great, but if not, it's not. And that's why people it's more of a nice to have. It's more of like a nice to have versus, no, I really want this. I want to figure out a way to get the money to do this because I want how this is going to make me feel. It's a very different experience. So that's the fourth step. And the fifth step is stepping into your luxury brand, stepping into your high ticket luxury brand. So it's not enough just to send intention and map this out. You actually need to step into it, become the emblem of this luxury brand, even if it's just you starting out, because that's what people are ultimately buying into. You. They're buying into you starting out. So that's what ultimately gives people the reason to buy from you over someone else, because they're not just buying the work or the offer, they're buying to the trust and faith of you and your brand, the trust, faith, and respect of you and your brand. And depending on how you show up determines their confidence of whether they should buy from you over someone else. That's why it always comes back to, how do you see yourself in this moment? How are you showing up? Are you stepping up to the luxury brand you're building? Or are you still acting like the struggling artist? Because you're still acting like that, like there's such a huge gap. And people are going to feel it. They're going to see it. They're going to feel it. They're going to smell it a mile away. So this is why you really need to understand that, because this all determines how you show up online, in your emails, on your social media, on your website, even offline. This will determine whether people will feel confident in the value, what is you're asking for, based on how you're showing up. If you're really confident, if someone asks and they're like, how much is that painting? And they're like, it's $10,000. And you feel confident with that, with every fiber of your being. None of you has a doubt about it's worth being $10,000. Don't you think the chances of them being like, oh, that's interesting, tell me more, it's going to be much higher if you're like saying, and people ask, oh, how much is it worth? And you're like, it's like $10,000. And people, it's a very different feeling. It's a very different feeling. If you don't say it with confidence, and it's not just saying it with confidence, it's feeling it. Because it's like, we all have energy fields. We can't see them with our naked eye, but we all have them. And people feel things that you're not communicating. They feel it. So if you're hesitating on the price of what is you're offering, people will feel it. If you feel confident with every fiber of your being that it's worth every penny of what you're asking for, well then, if they're the right client and collector, they're way more likely to say yes. Or they're way more likely to say, like, oh, how can we do payment plans? Or how can we make this work? Because they believe it's worth that much too, because of your confidence in what it's worth. Does that make sense? Cool. So let's just recap on everything we spoke about today. And we have about about 18 minutes for Q&A if you guys want to take some time to do that. So the first step is setting the intention. It's getting really clear. What is it that I'm building? What is it that I'm creating? Like really getting clear on those things. And who do I need to become to create that? Who am I when I create that? Who's the person that will be able to create that? Get really clear on that and see what's your gap. Where are you now? Who do you need to become to create that? It's the first thing. The second thing is understand the brand that you're building. So with understanding your brand, it's understanding, okay, what is it that I'm creating? What is it that I'm creating in the world? What's the impact I want to make? What's the legacy I want to create with my work? What's the mission behind the work? What's the brand frequency? What's the world of the brand? What's the personality of the brand? Like, why are people going to be magnetized to this brand over someone else's? Like being clear on these things makes such a huge difference. Then it's getting clear on who's the client. Who's the client that we're serving? Who's the specific client that we're speaking to that we could serve better than anyone else? I love the term. I actually learned this from Regan Hillier. And I think Mindvalley talks about it similarly as well, but this whole idea of having a soulmate client. And I love that concept because it makes you realize it's like, there's people that you could serve better than anyone else can. And I think we all have those people. We all have people that we could serve better than anyone else can. And it doesn't mean anyone's good or bad, or it doesn't mean like there's competition in that sense. It's just understanding there's people you could serve better and there's people I could serve better. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's some people that some artists could serve better than you, and you could serve better than others. So when you understand, okay, who's the specific person I could serve better than anyone else, then you're just focusing on serving and speaking to that person. You're not focusing on trying to sell to everyone. You're not focusing on trying to serve everyone, which actually takes a lot of pressure off of you and makes your content way more focused. It makes all your actions and your strategy way more focused because you're just focusing on serving the people who are actually ready for you, who you could actually help better than anyone else. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is establishing your high ticket brand procedures. So this is establishing the procedures that you could put into place to make your people feel like $1 million. That's the fourth thing. And the fifth thing is actually stepping into your high ticket luxury brand. It's actually stepping in to become the emblem of it. So when you're asking for what you want to ask for, like, of course, the work needs to be good. I think like if you don't believe the work is good, it's going to be really hard to sell at the price point you want to sell. But if you believe the work is good and it's worth every fiber of your being, and you believe that what you put into it and what you're offering is worth every fiber of your being, and you're really the emblem of this brand, well, you're way more likely to attract the right people to buy it. Like, one thing you have to understand, when you go to these high ticket luxury like brand and the locations of these brands, do the salespeople hesitate when they tell you the price? No. They're like, this is what it is. Do you want it? They're just very like, they know it's worth what it is. And the person who come into their store, who come into their location, is someone who is aware of that and is happy to pay that, or will find a way to pay that if they really want it. They do not hesitate with the price. They own that brand. They represent that brand. They become the emblem of that brand. You need to do the same thing with your business and your brand. Does that all make sense? Great. So for those of you who want guidance on the key shifts you specifically need to make to turn your art business into a high-ticket luxury brand and business, I highly recommend you book an art business audit with us so you can take a deep look at your business and identify the key shifts you need to make to get there. So if that's something where you're feeling like, I don't know what the gaps are with my specific business and brand, I'd say reach out to me, just DM me our business audit, and we'll figure out, okay, what specific shifts do you need to make so you can start stepping into that new brand, that new identity, and you no longer have to deal with the hobby art business reality. You no longer have to deal with the status quo anymore, which I think a lot of the status quo is just BS that's been perpetuated for way too many years. So we have about 15 minutes right now. So let's dive into some Q&A with people who are with us live. Jay, do you want to go first?
Sure. That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
For one, it was really validating in a way, just like how much work I've done and how clear I am. But then it's just inspiring on the fine tuning, the little tweaks and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the area that I need to nurture the most is like the procedures, because there's a lot of details once someone purchases my art that they're like, wow, like this was far beyond what I expected. And even my process, like I feel like I need to share more about my process because it's so unique. But yeah, I think the detailed procedures that are there with no matter what people,
Yeah.
no matter where they're at, like before they don't even have to work with me yet to experience it.
Yeah.
So part of what I'm coming up against is just a smoother like funnel, for one.
Yeah.
Because I know like once they purchase, like, well, once I even get on a call with them, I know we're golden. Like I know it's gonna be good. I know I have a super high close rate, and then everything after that's just cherry. But yeah, so I want to get more specific on those kind of procedures and to let people in my world in a way that I think transmutes better. A part of it's the mechanical, like the filming, like we've talked about, sharing my posts and filming so I can stay in my method, but it coming across as high end, because I I do feel like what I offer is luxury. That's what I've always done in any business. But it's literally like the physical space and the right lighting and the right angles. And so I think that's something I'm going to reach out and actually, we've talked about this, but
Yeah.
trade or pay someone to just come in and like film, because I
Yeah.
think that's going to make everything take off. And
Yeah.
then also doing like a video podcast.
Yeah. I love that.
And I just don't know the actual like mechanical steps
Yeah.
to do that. So yeah, this was good. I feel like I don't want to even say pivoting anymore. I think everything's just circled back around and I'm just honing in.
Yeah. You're up leveling. You're just kind of
Yeah,
playing up
yeah,
level as you're circling around. Like for those of you know that
yeah,
he's done major up. We've been working together since around July, August, and she's done some major, huge up leveling.
yeah, yeah, it's been great. And even just like you
Yeah.
talking about owning, like stepping into it, like that new triptych like paintings that I created. I
Yeah.
was figuring out with my new prices what it'd be worth, and it's like $28,000. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
it is. And I feel it. I'm like, it's absolutely worth that. And I'm like, damn, like, look at us go. Like it just feels really good.
you know what?
Um,
I have a cool idea for you that may be fun. If you have someone help you with like the video and photography, just for a few things, whether it's a trade or you pay some or however you do it, is like dress up as the business owner, as someone who would sell painting for $28,000 and do like a fun video shoot or photo shoot as that person.
yeah.
With the
Okay.
because I
I've
feel
done a few short reels
yeah,
dressed up as that, and I'm like, yeah, I need to step into that more, but capture it better. So I
yeah.
love that.
If you guys someone do that, because if you there's something about doing that, have someone to capture it, and then if that's in your marketing and people feel it, it's like, whoa, like what happened? And just your up
Yeah.
just the most level up level, they're like, whoa, like how'd you up level, or like you're like a whole new person now, or a whole new
You
brand.
know what? Maybe I'll talk with my photographer about that, because she takes, I think, good pictures of my art. And I'm like, well, maybe sometime when I take all my art over,
Yeah.
I'll have her do a mini like branding session
Yeah.
with that, with all my like paintings. And I could do that on a regular basis. And I think it would be a really good investment.
I love it. Yeah. And dress up as the
Yeah.
owner of the brand who
Oh,
sells
yeah,
$20,000 paintings.
totally. Because then I could repurpose those in so many ways, and it would be in a
Yeah.
nice, like, yeah.
It's actually a
Okay.
great time when we start masterminding on content for you to create reels while you're doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then people, it's like people feel that new energy, people feel that new frequency.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. I'm gonna have a talk with her about that Monday.
Yeah,
Super.
I love it. This
Awesome.
stuff
Thank
is
you.
this stuff is so much fun. Like I love this stuff because it's like it's really like you get to see like there's so many beautiful parts about it. It's like how you're growing and then how you're showing up on the external. That just creates this beautiful world.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's been so fun. I do. I'm like, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
One thing on my vision board, like I have all this stuff, but I've been writing down all like the feelings, because it's really just the feeling of it. And I was looking at it and I'm like, I've had all those feelings like every day lately, and I haven't been working super hard. I've been setting baby size like goals so that I like win the day every day.
Yeah.
and the momentum that's giving me, and just the art of allowing, the surrendering, and just doing what I love, like I was doing like a year ago until I got caught up in all the other
Yeah.
stuff and the growth part of the journey. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I'm already there.
Yeah.
Like, of course everything's showing up. I'm
Yeah.
already there.
Yeah, I love it. I think a big part as well, and I don't know if you've seen that, we'll talk more about this on our next call, but it's also, I think, setting boundaries with yourself and respecting those boundaries. And it's a big
Yeah.
thing that we often, especially as women, but I think as artists together, don't know how to set boundaries of respect with ourselves. So if we can't do that for ourselves, then how can we expect others to perceive us as these high level individuals if we're not setting those boundaries to take care of ourselves?
Absolutely.
Ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Beautiful.
I think it's just understanding that, like, we're so much of an up leveling. It's kind of like, it's, we talk about less people pleasing, because I feel like hobby artists to luxury brand, like luxury brands, they don't give a shit about people pleasing. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. I was actually, when I was at the event, Todd Herman was speaking. For those of you who don't know Todd Herman, you should look him up. He's incredible. And he has a book called The Alter Ego Effect, but he's really big. And he's like, a lot of they talk about businesses, no like and trust. And he's like, I don't believe that. It's no respect and trust. He's like, a lot of people don't have to like me, but if they respect me, they'll still work with me. They'll still buy from me.
Yeah, I like that. It's interesting you even brought up boundaries, because I've had a lot of opportunities
Yeah.
recently for that. And I feel like I stepped into it finally. I was like, wow, I'm like, that was actually really easy. And I
Yeah.
did it with love. It wasn't
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But first things you have to respect is yourself,
yeah,
which is a big thing. And then if
yeah.
you develop that level of respect with others, then it's like it's a different game. Like he works with someone he used to work with. I mean, I think he still works with athletes. He worked with every major athlete out there, and he would say things that a lot of them do not like, and many times they probably leave the day not liking him, but they respected him, which is why they continue to work with
Mhm.
him.
Yeah,
So that's a big thing to understand. You want to build no respect trust with you and your
yeah.
brand.
I think that's the piece that we talked about when
Yeah.
we were very first working together, was that was the piece with me that was kind of missing, is just the respect and stuff still.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think while you're up leveling, so you have a high level of respect for yourself,
yeah, yeah.
just showing up on all levels.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a new way of being, that's for sure.
I
Right.
love
Thank you.
just reading, of course, Jade, just reading Courtney's comment. I need to be more like Jade. I'm introverted, but I need to develop the confidence I should have to increase the prices of my work, because I know my work is worth more than I'm charging. Well, Courtney, let's talk about that. Are you here with us?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, so what do you think is the confidence piece then? Because this is what you shared. I love that you shared this, because
Mhm.
you're not the only one. I'd say the majority of people probably struggle with this.
Yeah, well, I've always been really introverted and shy, and that's just something I need to work
Yeah.
through internally, because until I get that piece like out of the way, get myself out of the way, I'm going to be stuck.
Well, let's talk about what it means to be introverted, because I understand I'm naturally an introvert. For those of you who know, I am an introvert. If you see me in a crowd room, I'm quiet. It was actually funny. As I was saying, I was at an event over the weekend, and several people told me, they're like, wow, you've been like quiet this whole time. I was like, well, I'm just not loud in large groups. I'm not. I'll talk to people, I'll listen, but I'm not the loudest person in the room. I mean, it's different if I'm on a group call and I feel called because there's something that needs to be said. That's different. But if I'm in a room, I'm not the loudest person in the room. I'm probably the quietest person in the room. And that's just because that's just my nature. Like, I've never had the reason to be loud. I've just never had that reason. So reason what introverts really are is, we have this thing about, it's the difference between introvert and extrovert. Introverts just recharge by being by themselves. That's the biggest quality of introvert. You need your alone time to be okay. You need your you time. Like, extroverts are different. If extroverts are exhausted, they need to go out. It's just a different thing. They recharge by going out and about, going to bars, going to partying, going to different things. I'm not saying that all that. My sister was an extrovert, so I saw what she did. No, I'm saying all extroverts are like that, but that's what you need as an extrovert. You need to be out and about. And I kind of find myself, I've always found myself more as an extrovert and introvert, but I feel like the pandemic's made me way more of an introvert than probably I was before. But I think, but that's really the biggest thing. So I think if you could get off that way, it's like, oh, I'm introvert, so I can't talk to people. It's like, no, you can. You just have a different approach. You're not going to be the last you don't need to be the last person in the room, and that's okay. But you could still talk to people because you love people. You could still talk to people out of curiosity. You could kind of talk to people and serve people because you want to make a difference in the world, because you want to help people, because you have something to offer someone, because you have something to offer them in that moment that could help them. So do you see what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think it's actually more of a confidence issue than being introverted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Jade said there's a sense of power with silence. Being quiet, your energy will radiate. Yeah. There is power in that. I had a whole discussion with someone about, because when they said, oh, you're quiet, this was all in the ladies' bathroom, by the way. That's where a lot of my conversations happen, which is really funny. But yeah, it's just, so then it's really like there's nothing wrong with being quiet. It's knowing when to speak the right moments, I feel like. So for you, I think for you, like you said, it has more to do with confidence. Let's talk about that. Why do you think you're struggling with confidence?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a lot of layers to that.
I know.
The stuff that I heard from my father, for instance, growing up, was the whole starving artist bit. And it was never something that I should go into because it wasn't a viable career.
Yeah. But now it could be. So even though, and I think what you're dealing with, it's like consciously, it can. I think, but subconsciously, you have a lot of healing to do around that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, it's very interesting. And I've been telling my students, we've been creating 2.0 Wealthy Creator. I've been working on the modules, is our unconscious minds are not logical, but they're designed to keep us alive. So if we have, and their goal is to move us away from pain and towards pleasure. But if we associate getting to where we want, if there's any pain associated with that, or fear is associated with that, our subconscious mind, our conscious mind will move us away from that, even though it's the one thing we want. Right. And it doesn't make any sense. So much of it is like an illusion. Like when we see people who are stuck, it's all an illusion that they're stuck. It's all about what's going on in their mind and the self-sabotage patterns that happen over and over again as a result of what's been going on in their mind based on the traumas and beliefs that have been instilled in them. So I think for you, Courtney, it's really taking time to visit those and really ask yourself, why is that the case? And maybe it's what your father told you, but I feel like there's something probably deeper than that.
Oh yeah, no, that was just one aspect of it.
One moment or one memory that left an imprint, but I'm sure it's other stuff that either deals with worthiness or, confidence. I feel like underlying confidence has to do with more about worthiness and feeling deserving of what it is.
Right.
They're all underlying confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think for you, it's looking at, well, why don't I feel worthy of that? Why do I not feel deserving of that? And when you could evaluate that, because the moment you feel worthy and deserving of it, you'll take off like a rocket.
Yeah, I know.
That's good news. But when you don't feel worthy and deserving of what you want, that's when self-sabotage happens over and over again.
Yep, exactly.
And the good news is you're aware, so you could do something about it. Some people spend their whole lives and just self-sabotage their whole lives because they're not aware.
Yeah, that's true.
So the good news is you are aware, so you could do something about it. You could start healing it. You could figure out, where do you need to get deeper support? And we've spoken about this, and we've connected you with certain individuals who could help you go way deeper with that and clearing that. So for you, it's just taking those steps to get there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you will.
I will.
If you stay persistent and you're like, you know what, I know that this is what I'm experiencing. It's just an expression of what's going on in my internal world. It's just an expression of unhealed wounds. That's all it is. And when you see it as that, it's good news. Because it's like, oh, as I start doing this healing work, as I start becoming aware, as I start developing a new relationship with myself, with my body, because our body, our nervous systems is what's controlling everything. As I start making those shifts, then guess what? I could start showing up differently. I could start attracting different results, and I could actually start building this, creating this luxury brand and stepping into this luxury brand. Because there'll be nothing holding me back. I'll have no reason to self-sabotage anymore.
Right. Yep.
Like, I just want to make it clear for people who are either watching live or watching the replay, self-sabotage, it's not something that people go out and intend to do. It's never like that. Many times it looks very logical. That people, like, when they're self-sabotage, it looks very logical from an outside to their minds or from an outside perspective. It looks very logical. But when you really go down and see, okay, why did they keep getting stuck in these patterns? Well, it's what's going on inside. What is it, the thing that their subconscious mind is trying to, the pain the subconscious mind is trying to move away from as they're getting closer? That's what a lot of it is. What's that pain that your mind is trying to move you away from? But it's actually getting past that pain that gives you everything it is that you want. So that's the biggest thing there. Okay, you guys all have an amazing day. I'll see some of you in our next calls, and yeah, hope to speak to you on some art business audits, you guys, and have an amazing day. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for watching this training. If you enjoyed this training, please like and subscribe below. And if you're an artist and creator and you want to turn this calling, this endeavor of yours into a multiple 6 to 7 figure business, make sure you download our free Artist and Creative Entrepreneur 7-figure blueprint. Access yours in the description below. Now come join me in our next training right over here.